Good evening, everyone. Hope you're having a beautiful night at this beautiful space. My name is Tyshawn, a 19-year-old a 19-year-old college student at Harold Washington College. And tonight I want to talk about choices. I grew up on the West Side, where family is everything. I've always been a middle child with siblings a lot older and a lot younger than me, people I look up to and people that look up to me. I have vivid memories of standing in our big blue house when I was younger with my granddad, who was a true father figure to me in my earlier years. But when I got a little older, I lost my granddad and later my grandma, which was hard on me dealing with that type of loss. But some years later, I met my birth father for the first time and a whole new set of siblings. I never do before, but I grew really close to them really fast. Like just we act just alike. But yeah, I was taking on a lot of new experience in a short amount of time, and I was about to start high school. Another change that would set me on another path. My mother, her wife, and my dad have always been my biggest supporters. They've always been understanding, especially when times got rough, but also always overprotective. I remember how I used to ask my mother every time I wanted to leave the house, whether it's to the mall, the park, or a friend's house, and she used to always tell me, stay out of trouble or don't do anything stupid. being a being a black male on Chicago's west side, it's like having two strikes against you already. And when you go out and do something you know is wrong, it could be that third strike real fast. I knew that as well as my mother did. So I tried my best to stay safe. But one day when I was 17 and I wanted to go out with my friends, I asked my mother if I could. But as always, she was hesitant about letting me go outside because she used to hate when I go outside, you know. But this time it was a little more hesitant than usual. But I sweet talked that I convinced her to let me go in outside. And then I wouldn't do anything dumb or to get me into serious trouble. So I put on a brand new outfit to look nice, new fresh shoes, first time wearing them, and I went out to meet a couple friends. It was a nice day out. So we walked around the neighborhood, going to the store, just taking pictures, having fun like any other group would. We knew it wasn't the best neighborhood to be walking around in, but we had guns in our pockets, so we felt safe, which is something normal in Chicago, on Chicago's west side. But I remember feeling something off in the air, like when your man telling you something is wrong, but you just ignore it. And I continued to walk. As we were on our way to the restaurant, and we turned on an open street, all of a sudden a police officer stopped the car and said, "You, come here." As I pointed to myself and said, "Me?" He said, "Yeah, you," as he got out the car. My mind went blank, and all I could think about that I was carrying a gun. So I started to run through traffic, and I just kept running for a few blocks. I turned around and see multiple police cars following me through the grass. So I dumped everything I had on me in a garbage can, and I surrendered with my hands up. After I was arrested, I just sat in the car handcuffed, thinking about so many things I could have did differently, regretting my dumb decisions. Then at the station, they asked who they should call, and I said my dad, who later called my mom, the last person I wanted to see up there. I saw her arrive and put my head down. I couldn't even look her in the face. She talked to me with tears and disappointment showing all over her face. Watched me take my mugshot now. I was processed, stripped, and showered in the detention center, and finally was sitting in a holding cell at 2 in the morning. Awaiting my court date the next day, I sat between the four walls on the stiff bed, just thinking about so much I could have did differently. Trying my best to go to sleep and so I didn't have to think about any of it. The next day came, and to my relief, the judge let me out on electrical monitoring, not allowing me to go anywhere but home, work, and school. After this, I realized I needed to make different choices if I didn't want to end up back there or somewhere worse. I was released with an ankle monitor and immediately introduced to Bill's first offender program. At first, I was irritated with the whole process, not wanting to do anything, but I met my mentors, Thornton and Derek Orr, who made the real difference for me, holding me accountable and being people I could talk to anything about. I went on to complete the program and they helped me get my record expunged, which took a huge weight off my shoulders. and gave me a fresh start. They introduced me to Contextos, a writing program where you talk about yourself and your environment, which inspired me to start writing poetry and to think about other ways I could be creative. As high school was slowly ending, I made the decision to go for a higher education. I knew where to start, but had other problems when it came down to get into the school. And figured that since Bill was helping me, was helpful in getting my record expunged, they could help me get into college. transitioning from transitioning from high school to college was a lot to handle. But Bill helped me in many ways. They gave me support with school in so many different ways. They gave me a Chromebook. Other schools, a lot of my school supplies, provided me with transportation to my appointments. Just in every way, they were just helpful to me. Finishing my financial aid was the last step in the busy office at my school, was taking the months to do it. But the same day I came to Bill and talked to and sat down with Anita Green, she was able to help me with my financial aid in that same afternoon. I've been provided with food and clothing several times from Bill, and even went to a Bulls game once when they lost they lost in overtime at one point. But yeah, I know Bill truly values me as a person, and they want me to be the best I can be. With the support of Bill, my mother, and some of my family members, I was able to start this year at Harold Washington College, where where I've chose to study architecture. Thank you. My love for architecture comes from when I was younger. I used to love playing with Legos all the time, always building. And as I got older and I traveled the city, I've always been inspired by how beautiful the city's unique buildings and layouts are. But being from the West Side, I know where some parts of it are completely vacant. I also know where some things need to be changed. I know how important places like Build are. So I want to use my education to create community spaces like it in the future for neighborhoods that need them the most. Every choice I've made has changed my perspective on how I move in life. For example, I know running the streets isn't for me. I have younger siblings that look up to me in future generations too. And setting an example for them is more important than being in the streets with nothing to do. To any youth out here today, never feel like you have to do something you don't want to do or hang out with a group you don't fit into. Always do what's best for you and the people you care about the most. I want to thank Bill, my family, and all the people that came for me for supporting me in my journey. And I want to thank all of you here tonight that listened to my story. Thank you.